Hello everyone, this is Paycheck, coach of the Portland Palafins, and this is Season 4 of the Pokemon Ultra Draft League Master Ball Division. Today we're going to have a little draft analysis, just going over what I picked. I was the second pick overall, so I was pretty much able to get what I wanted. Spoiler alert, it is not Dragapult. I was not first pick, and pick isn't that great, but we did get a good first overall pick, and for round 1 we picked Spectrier. Spectrier is a really good round 1 pick in my honest opinion. I do not believe this Pokemon should be allowed in draft, not because it's like incredibly broken. There is counterplay, just get a dark type or a normal type. You've pretty much dealt with Spectrier, but both dark and normal types are weak to fighting, so as long as you draft a good fighting, this thing can be really centralizing. Plus, if you don't have a darker fighting, Spectrier kind of just stomps teams. This thing's a whopping 145 special attack, a 130 speed, and basically special Moxie for an ability. This thing is really broken. Pretty happy to get it overall, and I think it's going to be fun to use overall in a Wi-Fi draft. Normally, when you pick Spectrier, you pretty much have to get a high tier fighting to sort of support it. And for round 2, we got Cinderace. This thing is kind of a fighting type. Not really, but it does have high jump kick, Libero boosted. So it can sort of be a fighting type. This thing is really strong in draft. Really good. It's got court change for like sort of hazard removal. We got pivot and U-turn. Powerball is basically a no drawback flare blitz. And overall I think this thing can support Spectrier really well. So pretty fun mon to use. Hopefully I actually do well using this thing. But pretty good round 2 pick. For round 3, we decided to go with a more defensive option that can support both Spectrier and Cinderace, and we decided to go with Zapdos. Zapdos is a really good mon, both defensively and offensively. Makes a really good core with Cinderace, being a good Volt Turn core. Defensively, it helps deal with those ground types by switching in. Offensively, it can hit those pesky, bulky waters. It helps Cinderace more than it would for Spectrier, but I still think it was a really good pick overall. It can help Spectrier a lot by just paralyzing things that may be faster than it, by either switching in and getting them static or just thunder waving them flat out. Super good mon. It gives me another special attacker, so I don't have to just rely on Spectrier. But overall, I think this is a good pick, good support for the team, and it's kind of just an all-around good defensive backbone here. Alright, for round 4, we decided to actually go with a fighting type rather than just a sort of fighting type with Cinderace. For round 4, we decided to go with Slitherwing. So now we have our actual fighting type, without just relying on Cinderace. It's also a strong bug type, so we can also hurt those dark types even more. Slitherwing, really good for U-turning out. It's got first impression for priority. It's really good for like Scarf or Band sets, maybe Life Orb. It also has a lot of support moves that it could utilize. It's got things like Will-O-Wisp for hindering physical attackers, Morning Sun for recovery, and Whirlwind for phasing out any setup sweepers. Overall, just a pretty good attacking and supporting mon here. Really fun mon to use. I used it once before and it did pretty well, so I'm happy to have it back on the team. Yeah, hopefully I can help out Spectrier a lot here. As you can see, I'm kind of hard building around Spectrier rather than just trying to fill out cores at the moment. But for round 5, we decide to get Kingambit. This is actually a mon I picked up in Grace. I kinda sniped it from another coach, Darude. Still feel a little bit bad about that, but I think Kingambit fits the team really well. Gonna be honest, the reason why I picked Kingambit was, well, one, is a steel type, really good. It's a dark type, can also resist those ghost types that Spectre might struggle against. It's got strong stab and sucker punch, and it can also just be a good overall late game cleaner. I've played a draft league with a Kingambit. It was a Terra Kingambit, and it straight up almost carried me the entire speed draft. That thing was so strong. And of course, obviously, this Kingambit cannot Terra. This is a low tier Terra draft, so this thing would definitely not be allowed to Terra. But overall, this thing is really strong, high stats, got 2 good abilities and pressure, I guess, as well. Defiance, I can use as like a Shadow Ball switch in, maybe even a Moonblast switch in, get those free +2 attack boosts potentially. But overall, I think Supreme Overlord is probably just the better ability. Just clean up late games, Swords Dance up, all that jazz. Just a really good late game sweeper. Very scary mon. And it's also a Spectre counter, so I prevented someone from actually grabbing this mon, because Draining Kiss does not hit this thing for super effective. Alright, so that's my round 5 pick. And for round 6, we managed to get Flygon. We have ourselves a dragon, sorta, for our almost Dragon Fairy Steel Core here. It's also a ground type, which can give you a potential switch into any electric types. And as you can see by the little Terra icons on the top left corner, this thing is our first Terra Captain. We have Terra Ground, Steel, and Electric. 1 stab, 2 non-stabs. Steel and Electric are obviously both weak to Ground, which is why we chose it. Flygon does get Levitate, so basically it makes Ground and Electric both really good defensive Terras if I need them. Flygon can do a bunch of different things. It can be a setup sweeper with Dragon Dance. It could be a priority mon with like a choice band first impression if I need it to be. It can also just be a good Scarfer if I need it with U-turn pivoting. I was considering running Terra Normal on this thing for those Terra Normal Boom Bursts potentially, or maybe a Terra Fire because it's also weak to ground with Levitate. So I can run like Fire Punch or Flamethrower. But I figured Steel, Electric, classic Terras for Flygon, they're probably just the best overall. So I decided just to stick with those 2 for now. In the future, maybe I'll pick one of those up, but if I do go Terra Normal, I'd probably want to keep Terra Steel, and that makes me super weak to fighting, so I'd rather not have to deal with that. So I think Steel and Electric, both really good. Flygon doesn't have the greatest stats in the world, base 80s except for base 100s, and both attack and speed is middling at best, but it is our Terra Captain, so I'm hoping this mon does really well. I really like Flygon, so hopefully we can do well with this mon. Alright, now for our round 7 Pokemon, we have a Steel, we have a Dragon, and now we need a Fairy type. Round 7 we got Pheasantipity. And with this, our Dragon Fairy Steel Core is completed. We also have a Grounded Poison now, which is really good. Pheasantipity, good special wall, decent speed tier as well. Looks like it technically should be a special attacker, but it really isn't. Only 70 special attack compared to the 91 attack. It can still use special attacking moves like Moonblast, Heat Wave, all that stuff. But it's basically here just to be a special wall, pivot around and heal off things, while also spraying toxic to things here and there. So overall, I think this is a good supporting mon for the team, alongside our others. So that's round 7, and for round 8, I decided to start completing my Fire, Water, Grass core, because I just have not been doing that. So for round 8, we picked up something that was still on the board, but was, still somehow on the board. A really good Pokemon. We got Slowbro. I love this Pokemon, super good. It's a real shame I lost Teleport, because now it's not quite as good as it used to. It doesn't really have a pivoting move, but it does have Regenerator. It's really good. Got Scald back very recently, as of the DLC. This is also our bulky water on the team, and is another mon that resists fighting to help King Gambit alongside Zapdos and Slitherwing. Overall, I think this is just a good pivoting piece to sort of, beat things that can't really deal with bulky waters. Very physically defensive. I don't think too many of my mons are that physically defensive, so it's good to have at least one mon that can do that. And Slowbro's got some potential as like sweeping if you want to use like a Calm Mind set, or if a Body Press or something, Iron Defense. But for the most part, it's basically just a piece that scalds things, maybe burns things, and switches around just to tank hits. Pretty safe mon to pick overall. For round 9, we got the final piece to our Fire Water Grass core. Get a grass type, and we picked up Toadscruel. Toadscruel, gives us a grass type to finish our Fire Water Grass core. Also gives another ground type for when Flygon has to Terra and I don't really have a ground type on my team anymore. Now I have a second one, so I don't have to worry about that too much. It's another special wall. I've got plenty of those. But also has Rapid Spin, so it's kind of our last little bit of hazard clearing here. We're a little light on the hazard clearing, but I think 1.5 hazard clears is probably good enough. Base 100 speed, base 120 special defense are basically the highlights of this thing's stats. A lot of good utility on this mon. Got things like spikes, toxic spikes. Does not get stealth rock for some reason, but it does have spore if I want to spore something. Except with Mycelium Might, it's not the greatest move. I can spore things like Goldengo and Espeon, Hatterene, things with like abilities that will potentially block it, but we can get through those. But overall, I would rather not just have the Mycelium Might. It definitely hurts it a little bit, but it was a relatively cheap grass type. Has Rapid Spin for helping out with that hazard removal and setting up hazards. Pretty good mon overall. So finishing off our Fire Water Grass core is really helpful. And finishing off the draft here, we just have one more Pokemon. Our final Pokemon and our final Terra Captain is Cloth, the legendary Titan Pokemon. Sort of. This thing is pretty much just my budget Pokemon. It just fills out the team, uses up all my points here, and it does have a few traits that make it pretty cool, pretty nice. It has Regenerator, just like Slowbro, so it kind of makes like a little Regenerator duo there. Doesn't really have any pivoting as well, so neither Slowbro or Cloth have pivoting to utilize Regenerator that well. Cloth also has Anger Shell, so it could maybe be a sweeper, but its stats are pretty low. Only 100 in attack, 35 special attack, 75 speed. It's pretty underwhelming, so it can't really do anything there either. Just half of a Shell Smash doesn't do much. It is our Terra Captain, so we have 3 Terra types up there. Rock, because it's our only type. We also have Water and Fairy as our Terra types. Benefits more from Water than it does Fairy, mainly because Water gives it stab crab hammers, which is very nice. Also lets us, just tank water hits more nicely, so it's pretty good. Fairy is mostly there just because it's a good overall defensive typing. Just strong overall. Water and Fairy are both pretty much the best Terra types, so that's the reasoning behind Cloth. And yeah, with that, Cloth rounds out our team of 10 here. Here is the team overall. Overall, I do like how this team turned out. My main goal this season is to just do better than how I did last season with Darkrai. We only ended up making it up to my round 1 of playoffs before we lost to Darude, our eternal rival. But, hopefully I'll be able to do better than last season and maybe even come out on top Who knows? Maybe I can get Spectre rebanned. It was only recently unbanned for this season, so hopefully I can pop off with it here. But that is all for the team draft analysis. This is the Season 4 PUDL draft recap. This is Paycheck, coach of the Portland Palfins, and I will see you all for week 1.